Hello everyone, in today's session we are going to discuss spotting errors theory part 4. Let's begin. First of all, read the index, introduction of pronoun, personal pronoun, reflexive pronouns, emphatic pronouns, and reciprocal pronouns, relative pronouns, who, whom, whose, that, which, etc. Distributive pronouns. So in this session we will cover up all the pronouns. Let's see the disclaimer. The images used in our slide deck are for educational purposes only. We respect the intellectual property rights of the original creators and owners of these images. If you are the owner of any of the images used in this deck and have any concern or issues, please contact us at sathee@iitk.ac.in and we shall remove the images. Pronoun. First of all, go through the definition. A pronoun is a word that is used instead of a noun or noun phrase. So it replaces a noun. It comes in place of a noun. I hope you have understood. First of all, talk about personal pronoun. A pronoun should clearly refer to the noun it stands for. When it is not obvious to which antecedent a pronoun refers, the sentence should be corrected. This can be done either by repeating the noun or by rewriting the sentence to make the meaning clear. So here we are talking about the function of pronoun and how to correct a sentence which is not corrected by the use of pronoun, and we are talking about the ways as well. Example, my friend was there with her aunt. She was wearing a red sari. So here it is not clear that my friend was wearing a red sari or her aunt was wearing a red sari. So it is not clear here that the pronoun she is referring to what? Either aunt, whether aunt or my friend. So it's incorrect. The correct sentence would be, my friend was there with her aunt. My friend was wearing a red sari. So in this way you can correct it. Or my friend wearing a red sari was there with her aunt. I hope you have understood. A noun or pronoun which forms a part of a prepositional phrase is said to be the object of the preposition. Personal pronouns in the objective case are used as objects of prepositions. So we have to use objective cases of personal pronoun if it comes with a preposition. Example, please give the copy to him. So here is a preposition to, and here we have used him as an objective case, not a subjective case. Here again there is a preposition with. Here again we have used an objective case of she, not a subjective case she, but an objective case her. I hope you understood. So the underlined pronouns are the objects of the prepositions to and with. Personal pronoun. The possessive adjectives must agree with their antecedents. What does antecedents mean? Antecedent mean the word come before another word. The word following, the word preceding. Let's take an example to understand it clearly. Example, the boy obeys his father. So here, his is referring to boy. Boy's position. So boy is the antecedent. The girl likes her mother. Here her is referring to the girl. So girl is an antecedent. The boy sat on its nest. Its is referring to bird. Bird is an antecedent. I hope you have understood. And the possessive adjective must agree with their antecedent. Because the boy is there, we have used his, masculine one. The girl is here, we have used her, the feminine one. And the bird, we put birds, lifeless things in a neuter gender. Or when the gender is not clear. Possessive adjective with gerunds. So we are talking about the use of possessive adjective with gerunds. Gerund is what? V1 plus ing. The first form of the verb plus ing, like writing, reading, jumping, singing. The sentence, the girl said that her writing had improved. So the girl said what? That her writing had improved. So here we have used a gerund which is acting as a subject of the verb had improved. So if it is acting as a subject, it becomes a gerund. So before gerunds, we use possessive adjectives, not possessive pronouns. Possessive adjectives are what? Her, my, his, its. So here we have used her before a gerund. The boy entertained the guest with his singing. So with is a preposition here. And the word singing has become the object of the preposition with. So if it is become the object of the preposition with, it is a gerund. And we have used a possessive adjective before it, his. Let's take another example by ourselves. I don't like you're going there. I don't like you're going there. I don't like what? Going there. So going is an object and we have put a possessive adjective before it, your. So your is a possessive adjective before gerunds. In the above examples, the gerunds are underlined and the possessive adjectives are printed in bold type. I hope you have done it. The possessive form of a personal pronoun, which is called as a possessive pronoun, can be used in the place of a noun. Example, he did not bring his briefcase, but I brought mine. So mine is referring to what? Mine is referring to possession. My briefcase. So instead of using my briefcase, we will use mine. The next one, because I forgot my pen, she lends me hers. Instead of using her pen, again and again, why do we repeat nouns? So we have used hers here. Her pen is equal to hers. In the above sentences, the possessive pronouns are underlined. Pronouns follow let. When a pronoun follows let, we use the objective form of the pronoun. We should not use subjective form after let. So while using let, we use objective cases of a pronoun. Let's take an example. Let you and I decide the matter once for all. So here we have used I, which is a subjective case, and that is incorrect. So the correct form would be let you and me decide the matter once for all. Okay. Different persons pronouns with the same verb. If pronouns of different persons are used with the same verb in a sentence, they should be placed in following sequence. The first one, if all the pronouns are in singular form, then the good manners demand that second person pronoun should come first, then the first, then the third person. The first person should take the last position. So the good manner and the correct order is 2, 3, 1. 2 means second person, third means third person, and first means first person. So it will come like this, 2, 3, 1. Example, you, he, and I are partners. So you here is a second person, he is a third person, and I is a first person. If multiple pronouns are used in a single sentence, we follow this pattern. He and I are good friends. He is a third person and I is a first person. So 3, 1. Again 3, 1. If pronouns are in plural forms, then the sequence should be 1, 2, 3. It means the first person plural pronoun is followed by second and third person plural pronouns. So if all pronouns are plural in a sentence where multiple pronouns are used, the sequence should be 1, 2, 3. first person, second person, and third person. Take an example. We and you cannot live together. We is a first person and you is a second person. 2, 3. Not 1 and 2. We, you, and they can purchase that complex. We is a first person, you is a second person, they is a third person. 1, 2, 3. The third one. Sometimes a sentence have some apologetic sense or negative sense or sense of some errors committed, etc. In such sentence, the good manners demands to accept the guilt first by the speaker, that means by the first person. In such case, the sequence should be 1, 2, 3. So in this case, when there is a negativity or some kind of guilt mentioned, we use the following pattern 1, 2, 3. Whether the number of the subject is singular or plural. Let's take an example. The first one, I and you are responsible for the loss. I is the first person and you is the second person. The second one, you and he spoiled the party. You is the second person and he is the third person. I hope you've done it. If a pronoun refers to more than one noun or pronoun of different persons, it must be of the first person plural in case. Nouns or pronouns are the first and second person, and if noun or pronouns referred by the pronoun are second and third person, it must be second person plural. In case of nouns or pronouns of first and third person, the pronoun must be first person plural. I hope you have done it. Here we are. What we are talking? We are talking here that if you find second person and first person, so the common pronoun would be used is of first person plural. If you find second person and third person pronouns, we will use second person plural. If you find third person and first person, we will use first person plural here. Example, the second person, you, and the first person. So second person and first person becomes are. You and I have done our job. You and I becomes are. The possessive case will be used are here. Not my, not your, not according to I, my, not according to you, your. You and he have completed your job. So here again, we won't use he, his job, you, your job. You and I, he, you is a second person and he is a third person. So second and third person becomes your. We are talking about common possessive adjectives here. If a collective noun is used as a unit denoting a unitary action as a whole, the pronoun used is singular and in neutral gender. So while using collective noun, how do we put a correct pronoun? The crew revolted, the murdered its captain. The crew revolted and murdered its captain. So here we are using crew as a collective noun, and here we have used its. After 3 days, the jury gave its verdict. So collective nouns fall into the category of neuter gender. We put them in the category of neuter gender. So that's why we use its. But there is another case. If the collective noun denotes separation or division, the pronoun used is plural. The jury were divided in their opinions. So here, jury is a collective noun, and it is used or has been used here separately. We are talking about separate members of, because they were divided in their opinions. So collectively, we are not taking a collective noun, but separate members of a particular group. Each member, it means judges, each judge. So that's why we have used there here, and here we have used its. When 2 or more nouns are joined by and, the pronoun used would be plural. Ram and Mohan went to their school. Example. If both the nouns joined by and denotes the same person, the pronoun used would be singular. So in the previous example, as we have seen, Ram and Mohan becomes plural, so we have used there here. But another instruction, another rule you can say, if both the nouns joined by and denote the same person, the pronoun used would be singular. So there is a noun collector and another noun is magistrate. They are joined by and, but the thing is we have used his here, not there, because we are talking about one person only. As a rule of article says, if an article is put only before the first noun in a noun phrase, or two nouns combined with the help of and, we consider them as a singular person or a single person. Collector and magistrate is a single person. When two singular nouns are joined by and preceded by each or every, the pronoun used would be singular. Each or every teacher and every boy was in his room. So here we have used every before teacher and every before boy. So in this case we will use singular pronoun, his. Singular pronoun and singular verbs is used with each, either and neither. So with each, either, neither, we use singular pronouns and singular verbs. Each of the students is ready to do his duty. Here we have used his singular pronoun. Student could be girls, student could be boys, male or female, but we prioritize masculine gender here according to the rules of grammar. Neither of them gets his turn. So again, we are prioritizing masculine gender. If we are certain about the gender, we can use her as well, or we can use his or her. Singular pronoun is used when two or more singular nouns are joined by or either or neither nor. Either Ramesh or Ganesh lost his purse. But if one noun is plural, then the pronoun should be plural and plural noun should be placed near the verb. Either the principal or teachers failed in their duty. So we will use according to the noun comes after or. Teachers is plural, so we have used there here. Reflexive pronoun. When pronouns are combined, the reflexive will take either the first person, or when there is no first person, second person. Ram and I have decided ourselves about purchasing a house. So Ram is the third person and I is the first person. Ram and I becomes we. So according to we will use ourselves, not myself or himself. You and Ram have ruined us, yourselves. You is the second person and Ram is the third person. You second person, third person becomes you. So according to you, because a common pronoun, what we get is you. So according to you, we will use yourselves. Transitive verbs take objects with them. Such commonly used verbs are avail, absent, enjoy, resign, apply, revenge, exert. Exert means to put yourself fully in some work. Avail means to be available. Absent means I absented myself from the office. Transitive verbs. You may know about transitive verbs. Transitive verbs are those verbs which take objects. If you find no object with them, use reflexive pronouns like myself, yourself, himself. I absented myself from the office. I revenge myself upon her. So reflexive pronouns are what? When the subject means the doer and the receiver are the same. It's like I slapped me. It's incorrect. I slapped myself, because the doer and the receiver of the action is same. Verbs when used intransitively do not need an object. Such commonly used verbs are keep, break, set, bath, make, stop, steal, qualify, move, open, draw, rest, roll, bust, hide, feed, gather, etc. These verbs are commonly used intransitively. So the opposite of transitive verbs are intransitive verbs. They don't take objects with them. And reflexive pronouns are used as objects in a sentence. So when you find any intransitive verb, don't use any reflexive pronoun because they don't take objects, and reflexive pronouns are used as objects. Example, he kept away from the function, which is correct. He kept himself away from the function, which is incorrect. So don't use himself here because kept is an intransitive verb. The indefinite pronoun one has its own reflexive form. One must have faith in oneself. So if you find indefinite pronoun one, it has its own reflexive form. Oneself, not himself, herself. So the sentence is one must have faith in oneself. Emphatic pronoun. The emphatic pronouns such as myself, yourself, herself, ourselves, themselves consist of a personal pronoun plus self or selves. The emphatic pronoun is used to emphasize a noun. It emphasizes the number of the subject and the doer. Usually emphatic pronoun is placed after the noun it refers or the pronoun. I myself solved this question. So what does it mean? It means that by myself, not taking any other person else. She herself found the solution by herself, not by taking any other person's help. So the position of emphatic pronoun is different. You need to remember it. It could be two positions. Either you put emphatic pronoun after the subject here. The subject is I, and here the subject is she. Or you can say before the verb, before the main verb, or after the object, if there is any. If you find any object with the verb, verbs which have objects are called transitive verbs. In previous slides, we learned about it. So either you put an emphatic pronoun before the verb, or you can say after the subject of the sentence. Either it is a pronoun or a noun. Or you can put emphatic pronoun after the object if it is mentioned. We can say I myself solved this question, or we can also say I solved this question myself. Reciprocal pronouns. Each other and one another are only two reciprocal pronouns. These are always used objectively. As per traditional theory, each other is used for two and one another for more than two. Example, you and I are foreigners to each other. Aldous Huxley, you, second person, and I is first person to each other. Here we are talking about two persons. So that's why we have used each other. Reciprocal pronouns can also take possessive forms. Example, they both borrowed each other's ideas. The students in this lab often use one another's equipment. Relative pronoun who, whom, whose. So here we are going to talk about relative pronouns. Let's first of all know about the relative pronouns. Who is used as a subject of a verb, whom is used as the object of a verb or the object of a preposition, and whose is used as an adjective denoting position. The relative pronouns who, whom, and whose generally refer only to persons and are used either in defining or non-defining relative clauses. What is a relative pronoun? Relative pronoun is used to relate. To relate what? Actually, relative pronouns are used to make adjective clauses or relative clauses, which define or which identifies or describes an antecedent. An antecedent could be a noun or a pronoun, comes before them. Who, whom, whose. So with the help of examples, you will understand this, what the relative pronoun is. In the following examples, who introduced the defining relative clause, who scores the highest marks, and the non-defining relative clause is who is learning Russian. What is defining and non-defining? Defining means that need to be defined, and non-defining means that do not need to be defined. Simple. Example, the child who secures the highest marks will receive a trophy. So here could be more than one child, 5, 6, 10. So here we need to define which child we are talking about. So that's why we have used defining clause with the help of who. And the child is the antecedent of the relative pronoun who here. And who is acting as the subject of the verb secures. The child who secures the highest marks will receive a trophy. It is a defining clause. How will you identify and how you will make a not defining or non-defining clause? By putting or not putting commas. My brother, who is learning Russian, wants to travel to Kazakhstan. So here I'm talking about my brother. I don't need to define my brother, who my brother is, and what my brother is. I'm talking about just my brother who is learning Russian. So it is a non-defining clause. It is just giving an additional information. That's why we have put commas here. It is a non-defining clause and there is a defining clause. In these examples, who has the antecedent child and brother, as we have already discussed about it, child and brother, and acts as the subject of the verb secures and is learning. So who is acting as subject of secures, the verb secures, and in the next sentence, who is acting as subject as well of the verb is learning. In these examples, in the following examples, whom introduce the defining relative clause, whom we visited, and the non-defining relative clause, whom we will meet tomorrow. The girl whom we visited is her sister. So here we have used whom. Whom is acting as the object of the verb visited. But the real object is the girl, but we haven't made the girl a real object here because we are talking about two sentences which has been combined with the help of relative clause. The girl is the antecedent of the word whom, which is a relative pronoun here. Mr. Francis, whom we will meet tomorrow, will be our guide. So whom is here acting as an object of the verb we meet, and the antecedent of the whom is Mr. Francis. So again, in these examples, whom has the antecedents girls and Mr. Francis and acts as the object of the verb visited and will meet. Relative pronouns who, whom, whose. In the following examples, to whom introduce the defining relative clause, to whom you gave your umbrella, and the non-defining relative clause, to whom we send a birthday card every year. The girl to whom you gave your umbrella lives near my house. So here it is a defining clause because we need to define the girl. Which girl we are talking about? We are talking about the girl to whom you gave your umbrella, not any other girl. His aunt to whom we send a birthday card every year is 90 years old now. So here only one aunt is there. So we don't need to define aunt, which aunt we are talking about. Only one aunt is here. That's why we have put commas here. It is a non-defining clause. In these examples, whom has the antecedents girls and aunt and is the object of the preposition to. In the following examples, whose introduce the defining relative clauses, whose house was sold, and the non-defining relative clause, whose family lives in America. The man whose house was sold will leave this town. My brother whose family lives in America will visit us for a few days. So again, whose house was sold is a defining clause, and whose family lives in America, it is a non-defining clause. In these examples, whose has the antecedents man and brother and modifies the nouns house and family. In this case of whose, it should be noted that it is the antecedent which must be a person. The noun being modified may be a person or a thing. Use of that. As a relative pronoun that can refer to either persons or things. The relative pronoun that is generally used only in defining relative clauses. So if you talk about that as a relative pronoun, it is used in defining clauses only. And the other relative pronouns can be used either in defining clauses or in non-defining clauses. but that is used only in defining clauses. Example, the girls that were here yesterday will return in a week. So girls, we need to define the girls, that's why we have used that. We can use who as well here, but to emphasize, we need to use that. So the bag that was on the steps belongs to our tenant. I hope you have done. In this example that has the antecedents girls and bag, and it uses a defining relative clause that were here yesterday and that was on the steps here. That acts as a subject to the verb was or were. That can be used for living and non-living nouns, for singular as well as plurals. Example, I have lost the book that you gave me. So here what we are doing, the book is an antecedent of the relative pronoun that. He that is content is happy. Again, that the antecedent is he. No preposition is used before that. If any preposition requires to be used, it is used in the ending position. If we use prepositions with the relative pronoun that, it has special case. We know that hotel that she lives in. So we can use we know the hotel in that she lives. The correct pattern is, the correct formation is, we know the hotel that she lives in. So we will use any preposition in the end. This is the lady that I told you about. So we can't say this is the lady about that I told you. If you want to use preposition before a relative pronoun, so do not use that here. You can use which, whom as objects. In a sentence after the following word that is generally used. So in the following words or after the following word that is generally used. If you found these words with antecedents like all, any, anybody, anything, much, nothing, little, somebody, no one, none, the same plus noun, that, the only, noun, that, etc. Example, all that glitters is not gold. So here we have used all. So we can't use who, whom. We will use that only. There was none that didn't support the cause. So again, none is used here before that. So we can't use who, whom. After interrogative pronoun who and what, that is used. If you found interrogative pronoun who and what, use that. What is it that you can't solve? So again, here is an interrogative pronoun what. That's why we have used that. Who was there that you were talking with? Again, who is there? That's why we have used there, that. Let's talk about which. It's important to note that when used as a relative pronoun, which refers only to things, when used as an adjective or interrogative pronoun, which can refer to either persons or things. The book which I purchased last week is very useful. So again, which is referring to the book. Preferring that to who or which. That is preferably used after superlative degree instead of who and which. So if you found any superlative degree, use that. Give your presence to that. After two antecedents, one referring to a person and the other referring to an animal or a thing, use that instead of who or which. So if you find any antecedent in which the first one is referring to a person and the other one is referring to an animal or a thing, use that instead of who or which. The boy and his dog that entered the temple were caught by the people. So here we can't use which according to dog and boy and who according to the boy, which is a masculine one. So here we will use that here. That will work for both. After same or such, use as or that, not who or which. So if you found same or such, use as or that, not who or which. This is the same fellow that came yesterday also. So here we have found same fellow. That's why we have used that here. Because that is used in a defining relative clauses. And it emphasizes the antecedent. That's why we use that with these such and such words. Let's talk about what. Relative pronoun what is used without antecedents. When used as a relative pronoun, what has the meaning that the thing or the things that So what is not actually a relative pronoun, but it can be used without antecedents. What you say is not true. So what does not take any antecedent before it? The antecedent of a relative pronoun should not be in possessive case. So that if we talk about antecedent of a relative pronoun, it should not be in possessive case. These are chairman's instructions that must be followed, which is incorrect. It is an incorrect structure. These sentences should have been written as following. These are the instructions of the chairman that must be followed. I hope you have understood. The relative pronoun should be of the same number and person as its antecedent. It means the verb should agree with the number and the person of the antecedent. So relative pronoun will take verbs according to its antecedent. The girl who was late was fined. So here who is referring to girl and relating to girl. So girl is singular. We have used was here. The girls who were late were fined. Here we have used girls. So we have used plural verb. So use verb according to the antecedents for the relative pronouns, not by the relative pronouns. Who and whom. Who, whom in relative clauses, a frequent source of trouble is sentences of this type. So people commit mistake. Students commit mistake using who, whom. Which one to use? Who, either whom or who. Example, the person who or whom we thought was guilty proved to be innocent. The man who or whom we feared we had injured proved to be unharmed. The temptation is always to use whom, presumably because it is felt that the word is the object of thought and fear, or whatever verbs takes their place in other sentences, but it is not in the first sentence. It is the subject of was guilty. Hence who is correct, and in the second the object of had injured, hence whom is required. So it is correct here. Object is missing of the verb injured, that's why whom will be there. And here the subject is missing, the subject of was guilty is missing, so that's why we'll use who here. If there is any doubt, a useful test is to substitute the personal pronoun he or him. If he would be used, the correct relative pronoun is who. If him, it is whom. Example, we thought he was guilty, therefore who. We feared we had injured him, therefore whom. We thought him to be guilty, therefore whom. Who and whom. A similar difficulty may arise with questions. Who, not whom, do you think we saw? Because it is the object of so. Whom is never indirect object. Whom is not used as an indirect object. We do not say the boy whom I gave the book, or ask whom did you give the book. It must be to whom, or the preposition may be placed at the end. The verb after who is the same number and person as its antecedent and takes its verb accordingly. In the previous slides we have discussed the same. It is I who am to blame. So here the antecedent is I of the relative pronoun who. So according to I we have used am, and according to antecedent we will use verbs. Distributive pronouns. Each, either and neither are classified as distributive pronouns. They denote person or thing one at a time. These pronouns always treated as singular and take singular verbs. Each of the students gets a prize. Each is a distributive pronoun here, referring to the students. Either of the two will win the race. Either is a distributive pronoun here as well, referring to two. Every one of the students was happy. Each of the two students received a medal. So each, either, neither are distributive pronouns. They take singular verbs and singular pronouns as well. Each can be used of two or more persons or things and is normally used for a small number. Every is not normally used of very small numbers. Each can be used for more than 2 when the number is usually definite. Both take a singular verb. So here we're talking about the difference between each and every, because as a distributive pronouns, each is used when the numbers are definite, when the number of the individuals are definite, and when the number of the individuals are not definite, use every. Every is used in a large context. So this is all about this session. I hope you have understood the session. Let's meet in the next session. Thank you.